Want to say good evening to Mr. Chico Dean.
What's good, man? How you doing? You got me in the office that they bring white people in and let them know that they didn't get the promotion. This is all right here. Never been in one of these rooms right here. I feel like I'm on a Tom Cruise movie from the '90s. This is nice right here. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How's the Nando's?
The Nando's was amazing, man. Listen, I just want to thank London for exposing me to the fact that America has not been feeding us real chickens. Y'all have real chickens over here, and they're seasoned to perfection. I was nervous. I didn't know if y'all use seasoning salt over here, but y'all have Perry salt, and it is just like Lowry's. For those people in America, it's just like Lowry's seasoning salt. If you don't know what that is, that's what the Perry salt is. So the Nando's was definitely delicious. That was one of the highlights of me coming to London was the Nando's for sure.
Obviously, you did phenomenally well on stage. Your comedy was, I loved it. And then also the energy and the actual performance. How long does it take you to cultivate that kind of style? Has it always been that at the beginning, or has it evolved to what it is now?
It's definitely ever evolving, really, because you in this field you learn every day. Like there is so much that I still have to learn. I'm still relatively young, and I've only been doing it for 8 years now. So I still have a lot to learn. A lot of the veterans, like for example, Kevin Hart, who's the biggest comedian in the world as far as a black comedian, especially out of my country, he had been doing it for almost 20 years before he even got to the stage that he's at now. So it takes a lot of work, but me just trying to find myself on stage kind of helps me be a little bit more attentive to how I perform. So I take it very seriously because I want me to shine through wherever I am. I want people to feel like they're getting to know me personally. So who I am as a person in my daily life and who I am in regards to the way I think about things and everything is really, really important in regards to how I get on stage and perform. So I just try to make sure that if nothing else, I'm being myself on stage. I might not have the structure down the way I want it. My jokes might not be as put together or as clean, as in regards to explanation as I need them to be, but that comes with time. That comes with me getting on stage and becoming better as a comedian. But all in all, I want to be myself and be unique and be true to me and tell my truth on stage. And as long as I'm doing that, then I'll be fine. So I think that just the evolution of me as a comedian has always been based in that. But it's definitely evolving. It's still evolving. The next time you see me, I'm sure it'll be different because I'm constantly checking myself to become a better comedian.
Do you still get nervous before?
Every show, every time I perform, no matter what it is, no matter what I'm doing, I get nervous because I told myself when I first started, my journey was a little different than a lot of people. I didn't start in a hotbed of comedy, the New Yorks or the LAs or the Chicagos. I started in North Carolina, which is not really a place where people are coming to find comedic talent. And I'm from Washington, D.C., so, my decision to stay down there was to really challenge myself and to, not go to a place where everybody's looking for something and not go to a place where, I had people to rely on me. I mean, that I had to rely on rather. If I, once I started to fail, I would be, more inclined to quit because everybody was looking at me like, oh man, you doing comedy? So I chose to go to North Carolina, which is stay in North Carolina where I went to college and do comedy, which is really not a place to, do the comedic thing. So I just think that, for me, the importance of I guess just trying to be the best that I can be kind of helped me make that decision. But I mean, one of the most important things is journey to me. Like I think your journey kind of determines where you end up. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, when I say my journey is a little different, like I didn't always know that I wanted to be a comedian. Like I kind of always was one, but never knew how to, you know, reference it or anything like that. So I think that I don't know. I really trying to figure out the best way to answer the question without running on too long.
No, you got time because I think what's important is like when we were talking off cameras, your journey, the things that you've seen before you even decided to make comedy as a career is it's almost like how did you transition from that? Just to move it back, what was it like really growing up in your part of DC?
Man. A lot of people don't know this too, and this is something that I learned about London that is very, very similar to where I'm from in the city of the District of Columbia. Is a lot of people think because that's where the capital of the nation is, and you know, because the president lives there, that it's a nice place to go. And that's very true. In that very secluded area, it's a very nice place to go. But other than that, DC is, you know, has been one of the most violent cities in the country, one of the highest crime rates per capita, you know, a lot of poverty, you know, like most inner cities in the United States of America. But unlike most inner cities, and I think what makes the District of Columbia so unique in our struggle is that if you're from anywhere else in the United States, your goal is to reach the people who are in DC, who are in the Capitol making the laws and making the decisions. You want them to notice your struggle in whatever town or whatever city you come from. You want them to see. So you write letters. You might come and protest. You might, you know, do whatever you can to get them to notice, hey, we're struggling here. We're hurting here, i.e. what happened in New Orleans with Katrina, or what happened in, you know, any type of, you know, with Michael Brown in St. Louis, or, you know what I mean, like any of those type of places. You need those people. Those are the people you're trying to get to recognize your struggle. But when you're from DC, they see us every day. We see them every day, and they still do nothing about what we have going on. So I think that that's what makes us a little different. The building that prints the money, we got to pass that every day on our way back into the hood. So it's like, you know, it's just a little different type of interaction that we have with everything being from that city. And I think growing up, you know, my father was killed when I was 2 years old. So I didn't have that interaction, and all of the males in my family, well, majority of them were either in the streets or influenced by it in some way, shape, or form. So that's where a lot of my influence came from. So a lot of the things that I looked up to and acknowledged as being correct, society would, you know, demonize. So I had to make a transition into, you know, figuring out what I wanted to be. I didn't even know what college was until, you know, my uncle was murdered. Like, it took stuff like that to happen to me for me to realize what it is I wanted to do with myself. But being from a city like the District of Columbia, there isn't much to, you know, we don't have too many people that make it out, really, you know what I mean? And that's really from the city that make it out and, you know, make a way for themselves and make a name for themselves while still giving credit to the city of the District of Columbia. You know, we have, you know, now Wale is one of the people who gives a lot of light to the city. And, you know, got to appreciate that, the fact that he does that and tries to shine light on what, you know, what we go through in our culture and everything. But most of the time, art, you know, it's like its own world. We got our own music, our own way of dressing, our own way of talking, our own food, everything. It's like its own world within, you know, within the country. So I think that my culture is the most important aspect of who I am as a comedian, or just as a performer in general, because I feel like it's so much in my city that hasn't been talked about and hasn't. It's a book that is about the District of Columbia called Shadows Behind the U.S. Capitol, and I think that just kind of describes what I feel about my city, is that there's a shadow that's been over the part that I come from. You know, no matter what section of the city you're from, it's a shadow cast over it. So I just want to be one of the stars that cast the light on, you know, that part of the city, you know. So I think that overall, I think that's the most important thing, just me being from there and going through all the things that I go. I mean, I can sit here and tell you a million stories about stuff that really doesn't matter when you know, in hindsight, because, you know, everybody goes through it everywhere. But what I just want to do is what, you know, Ice Cube did for Los Angeles, or, you know, what T.I. did for Atlanta, or what the Wu-Tang did for New York, or not just to use rappers or just entertainers or people who come from places in general, who just, you just shine a light on it. And when you shine a light on it, it opens up people's sight to so many other stars. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's like you just put yourself and your people in a position to be better. And like I said, I went to North Carolina and started doing comedy. So I didn't even start at home. And that's one of the reasons, because I didn't want, you know, the shadow to dim the star that I'm trying to create for myself, because that's usually what happens to a lot of people who from the city. So that's why I stayed stayed out of town and kind of made my name away from home. So when I come home, everybody know I did it for them. First time I ever seen somebody shot, I was 6 years old in 1-1 Park. It's a park that was across the street from where the street that I used to live on, 10th Street.
But I was just like, you know what? fuck this shit. I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna see where it gonna go. I ain't look back.